Good morning. Happy Monday morning to everyone who is here joining us for our Monday morning Kaiser Live session for week 2 of stress management. The reason that I'm recording this session in this manner, ladies and gentlemen, is so that you can see basically some of the things that I wanted to show you through Kaiser Live, but because of the way that the Kaiser Live system is set up, it was very difficult for me to do so. I actually watched the recording for week 1 in Kaiser Live and saw what you could see as a student, and it was basically 2 different screens, the whole recording. So I thought I'd give it a shot this way to record it. Obviously, this is not an online interactive; it is a pre-recorded session, but I might be able to show you some things a little bit easier in regards to the web page for Blackboard. So because this is week 2, I am going to just point out a couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet, make sure that you're logging on every day. Please make sure that you're checking your student email address for any emails that I send out in regards to communication. But also, you should be looking at the announcements page right here on your screen. Sometimes you'll see the names of the announcements, and if they're old, you won't have any announcements listed, but that's the reason why it's important to click here where it says More Announcements. So you can see the original announcement about welcoming you to class. That was the first week. And then you can also see the announcement here that says that Quiz 1 is open. And I will try to do that on a weekly basis just to send out the reminder that the quiz is open and that you will have that window of opportunity to take your quiz. So I'm going to go back to the home page. All right. Other reminders, just make sure that you're logging on every day. Again, I am able to see who logs on, what time, and how long they're in the course. And let's start with week 2. You'll notice when you click on week 2 that the layout, the format is just like week 1. So you can see here the date and the time for our week 2 meeting. You see your classwork that you're responsible for in regards to week 1. I have attached some additional files for you here to help you be successful in your classwork. I've uploaded your PowerPoints as well as your lab, and then your quiz 2 will be open sometime later this week. Look for that email to come out later on. So I want to just briefly introduce you to your classwork for week 2, and I'm going to click on where it says week 2. So this is what week 2 looks like. You are covering chapters 8 through 15. You'll notice the extremely similar format in regards to week 1. I've also given you some objectives in regards to some of the topics that you should need to know for quiz 2. But again, for chapters 8, 9, and 10, I've broken it down into defining, explaining, the following concepts. Chapter 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are all laid out for you here in a little bit more abbreviated version than week 1. But you do have a couple additional activities. Maybe I shouldn't have called them lab. Don't get confused. These are not your lab 2 work, and I'll introduce that in a second. You got activities for chapter 13. Specifically, one is to view a movie and to respond to that. So I'll show you that in just a second. Also, you've got a scavenger hunt to do, which is more of a class activity or a chapter 14 activity. And those are the 2 documents that I've uploaded for you on Blackboard. So I just wanted to point those out specifically because your classwork for week 2 is not just as simple as reading the chapter, looking at the PowerPoints, and answering questions. There are some activities that are embedded into your week 2 classwork. So I wanted to point that out for you. And that's the reason that I have these 2 second documents uploaded for classwork. So I'm going to look at chapter 13's first. I'll click on Enable Editing. There, it opens up a little bit better for you to see. So for chapter 13, one of the real-world applications that I want you to use and to view in order to connect to the concepts within the chapter is to watch a movie. If you have difficulty finding this movie and you want to just make sure that you're, maybe just watching the right one, please, again, don't hesitate to call or email me. But the title of the movie is Run, Fat Boy, Run. If you've seen it, wonderful. Watch it again. Have these questions next to you while you're watching the video. But you've got 6 questions that you need to be paying really close attention to while you're watching the movie. So I would encourage you, read these questions prior to starting the movie and be able to pause the movie so that you can answer your questions as you come across them within the movie. These questions aren't necessarily in chronological order according to the movie, so that's why I encourage you to read these questions before. So one of your activities for Chapter 13, again, is to watch the movie, Run, Fat Boy, Run, and then to find the answers from that movie and give your answers here in this document. So I would open up a new Word document and type in your answers, obviously number them 1 through 6. If you would like to simply take this document and type your answers underneath the questions, please, you are more than welcome to do that as well. I'd be able to follow your answers very easily. The other document that I've uploaded for you as an activity for Chapter 14 looks like this. And this is asking you to do an activity to visit some sort of common area on campus. If campus is not an option for you at this point for this particular week, then find an area that's populated. And just make sure that you tell me what area it is that you visited. But your specific directions start at number 3. Your job is to take notes of your surroundings, the objects, the conditions, the situations kind of surrounding the environment that you chose to observe. And your job is to answer the following questions. What environmental stresses are there? Is it a pleasurable or a stressful environment? Explain your answer. Is it a healing environment? What colors? What lights? Smells, air quality, what do you notice? Talk to me about the perceived noisiness while you're in the environment, and also talk to me about the temperature of the location. And then based on those answers, number 4 asks you to analyze your surroundings. In other words, how would you take control of your environment to create a more healing environment in this particular location? So that's an activity associated with Chapter 14. Don't worry about that date. Obviously, I missed changing that because it's no longer August anymore. So follow the due dates for your classwork, and you can disregard the all components of today's classwork comment. Other things that I want to point out to you, I think we're good for the week 2 meeting. We've talked about classwork. Again, as always, please let me know if you have questions. I want to show you your Lab 2 in regards to budgeting your time. So Lab 2 is going to take you probably 5 or 6 days to complete because I've asked you to do an activity for 4 days out. And the purpose of the lab is to determine how you spend your time and then also how to analyze how you can spend your time more effectively. And this is based out of all the chapters that you've covered for week 2. Sorry. So for 4 days, try and build 1 weekday in there. Keep track of how you spend 24 hours. And your job is to write down each activity, account for every minute of your day, including the time you spend sleeping. So your job is to keep a log throughout the day so you can immediately write down the following information. Record the date, the time of day, the time you spent doing the activity, and what exactly it is that you're doing. Once you have 4 days tracked like that, your second step then is going to create a chart in either Word or Excel, and you're going to catalog your entire 4-day activity journal and then analyze your table for activities that really dominate your time. A big part of the step 2 is to color code your activities. So obviously, sleeping is a particular activity that can be put into one coded color. Eating is another activity. basically the reason that I'm asking you to color code is to allow you to start analyzing patterns in your behaviors. So if you work out, have that be a certain color. If you go to sleep, have that be a different color on your chart. And then for your third part of this lab is to go to the discussion section on Blackboard and respond to the following questions that you see here. Please pay close attention to the minimum wording. So I'm asking you, what's your most productive time of day? What are your biggest time zappers? What is one specific thing that you can do to more effectively manage your time? And what is the most important new insight that you gained from completing this activity log? And then your final step is to do a Word document and discuss your answers. And again, please pay attention to the minimum wording and pay close attention to all questions that are posed to you in letter A for step number 4. So I think week 2 is a little bit more involved, but if you manage your time appropriately, I think you guys will have no problem completing these tasks. I would like to conclude our meeting this morning by just giving you a couple reminders about your due dates. To go over classwork, your classwork is due for week 2 Thursday by midnight. So that includes your answers to the questions for week 2, the answers to your video follow-up, and the answers to your scavenger hunt. Your lab 2 budgeting your time is due on Friday at 9 a.m. And then quiz 2 will be opening up sometime around Wednesday or Thursday, and again will be due Sunday at midnight. Good luck with your work. If you have questions this week about what you need to do or how to go about it, please don't hesitate to call me.